Hello everyone, welcome back. And this is the usual stream for writing a programming language in Rust. The project that I'm working on at the moment is Seed, which is a research-based language aimed at just being a general test bed for different programming language ideas. And I'm intending to use that as the basis for a follow-on project called Ash, provisionally called Ash anyway, which is intended to be a shell script alternative to the likes of Bash with general adoption, basically trying to borrow from all of the usual syntax and features that we're used to in a lot of modern programming languages, but keeping the ergonomics of Bash as much as possible. And then from that, playing around with different language ideas as well. And so the environment that I'm running all of this in is a remote host where I use Mosh to connect to a server and get a stable connection. I use Tmux to divvy up the session into different windows and panes. And then on the right here, I have an ENTR script running, which will reevaluate the project and rerun the tests when a file or test changes. On the left, I have more or less vanilla Vim with the NerdTree plugin. That's the only plugin that I use. And then on the bottom left, I have a pane for just running bash commands and things like that. So the state of the project at the moment is, I would say, quite close to completion. Maybe one or two features are left to be done. And what I'm hoping to get done today is just finish off the implementation of string interpolation, which I think I've been working on for the past two streams and didn't quite get it finished. So I'm hoping that I can get it done today. So if I recall correctly, I think the last piece that needed to be done was there was just some small off by one errors in the parsing and in the tests. So what I'm going to do is try and rectify those issues, and when that gets done, hopefully that will be enough. That will be the commit ready to go. So first thing that I want to do is just evaluate where I am in terms of the indexes for this string scanning section. So first of all, we say that the current interpolation start is equal to index -1. I think that was just playing around with different values to try and shotgun approach fix the issue. I think that can be removed in that comment too. So we'll see what that results in. And what we need to do down here as well is, so first off, we're going to see current interpolation start is equal to index. And so the first character after $, we will expect, so after one iteration through, so basically once we hit this section, we'll set current interpolation start is equal to index. Index will be incremented, so we're going to have to check +1 here. And we can see on the right hand side that there are some effects of having the value be affected by this off by one error. So we're going to say if current interpolation start +1 is equal to index, and the character that we're currently examining, so basically the first character after the $, should be an opening brace, and if it's not, then we say that that's an invalid beginning. So that's basically what was there before. I just had index -1 instead of current interpolation start. And so then we check all the braces, then we collapse them down and we check so maybe what I'll do is in this section where we actually evaluate that, let's see, in mod I believe. I'd say that could be changed to +1. That could easily be where the issue is arising from. Now whether I put the +1 and -1 down here or in here, I feel like it makes more sense to put it up there. We'll say that the range doesn't include the delimiters. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're getting now. So we have, and that was maybe some more leftovers from the last day as well, was just to decide what extra tests that need to be included. Although I could add lots of other tests. I would guess there were some error tests as well for trying to interpolate with a non-string. Although when it comes to something like integers and things like that, so maybe I'll allow for, let's see, integers, yes, booleans, no, not for the moment. And then compound variables, no, or compound types. Now it's saying interpolated ranges can only be strings got an object in all of these cases. So what is going on in that case? Well, first of all, I had saved the file where I had shortened the range, but I hadn't saved the file where I'd actually changed the usage of that. Okay, so that's one issue where now that I'm including the directive, we'll want to do this perhaps to remove the first delimiter. Yeah, that works as expected, and then we want to remove the second delimiter. So, unrecognized token brace close. Let's go ahead and print out what we're actually working with here. Let's try that. Okay, so we're really focused on the second one, where we get hello and it's just an open brace. So first of all, we have the part of the string before the directive is hello. Then we have the directive itself, which is fname. And then we have another section of plain script or non-interpolated value, and then we have an opening brace and then a closing brace soon after. So that's working fine in the first instance. So what I'll do is create another of these. And see, does this issue compound as the number of directives increases? And that might be able to help us debug this. Well, it doesn't, because we flagged the issue in the first case. So maybe just for the sake of debugging, I'll go through all of them and print them out. And I'll see if Rust will allow me to do it this way. So I'm just going to print out some extra debugging material just to separate the sections of the output. But it does look like the issue compounds. Could there be a continue somewhere in this? Because, okay, well, there's a continue there. Any section that says continue will skip incrementing the index. Maybe I could put it just after the call to next character. What is index is just used for interpolation really as well. Even though I'm not really seeing anything here that would cause the increment to be skipped, but I think it makes more sense to do it this way just in case anyway. But however, let's see. So we are skipping the dollar symbol first of all, because we're not doing a characters push here. Oh, and that is causing some upset in the remainder of the string, because the character is being encountered, but we are, so the index that we're generating is relative to the original string, but not the generated string. So that, I believe, is why we're encountering an issue here, which makes sense. So what could we do here? Do we want to keep omitting the dollar symbol from the target string. We could even omit the delimiters from the target string as well. And also keep in mind that we're going to have to modify the index when escape characters happen too. Maybe something we could do instead of index, we can say the length of characters to get the current interpolation start and the current index. I'm just thinking it really doesn't make too much of a difference whether to include the delimiters in the target string or not. But for debugging purposes, maybe it might make things a little easier if I do include the delimiters in the output. So let's try this. Let's see what we end up in this case. And yeah, I will need to account for the range pieces. In the output. try this. And we're really looking at interpolation 3. So we're going in the right direction anyway, so we've still got an off by 1 error at the end of the current range, so we don't need to be removing 1 there, but we should be adding 1 here. So let's try that, and we're looking for interpolation 3 again. So we've F name, M name, and L name, and we've kept the spaces there. Now for consistency, let's see. Try and work it like that. And I wonder, did that run on the correct iteration of that file, the correct save? So interpolation 3, we've hello, F name, M name, L name, and that's what we expect. And that's kind of nice too, so we can see if we don't skip the delimiters, they're kept intact as one might expect. So let's go ahead and put that into the correct place. And we'll keep our debugging pieces just for the moment. But we'll remove those ones. Let's try that. And in terms of the output, we have hello Joe Soap, hello Joe M Soap, and basically everything as we expected. So we can go ahead and remove the debug lines, and that should result in all of the tests passing this time around. Nice. So there we have it. What I'll go ahead and do in this case is the last bit of tidy up is to rename interpolation ranges to something different and something not necessarily more consistent, but once I've decided on the name, actually apply it consistently throughout the code base. So we've got interpolation ranges, which is the section of the interpolation which contains essentially a directive or an operand. So an interpolation block. I think directive is probably the closest to what I want to have here. Let me see. Whoops. Just a sec, I need to open up a guest profile. And yeah, I think I was looking that up last time as well. Slot could be another. Yeah, I think slots make sense. Kind of captures the idea that it's a place that something else can go into, and also borrows the naming from Vue, which I'm more in favor of these days. I mean, back in the day, especially if I was writing a language or something like that, I was like, oh, it has to be unique, it has to do its own thing and have its own grammar and things like that. And these days I feel like, just why does it need to be so unique? Like, I I don't like to be controversial or anything like that. I like to take it easy with things, but when I look at, say, the likes of Golang, and I still have no idea why it's nil instead of null. I mean, I get that they wanted to try and make it distinct, to try and almost trick people into thinking about it differently, but it really is just a rose by any other name. It's like, and similarly, I've seen other languages call it either void, or I see things call it maybe, is it called unit somewhere else? And there's really a lot of value, I think, like, unless the names and terms are totally unfit for purpose, there really is so much benefit from just borrowing the ideas as is, taking the terminology and the naming as is, and then people can be like, okay, this is what that thing is. It's the same as it is in that other language, which to me, nil is exactly the same as null. And I've been using Go for a long time, and I still think it's basically the same as null. And so you can just bring those same ideas with you and that same understanding, and then you can move on to the interesting parts, the things where it actually is different. And so I'm going to, this is a much more minor thing, I think, but yeah, I'm going to go with the slots terminology. So let's see, interpolated ranges. And where is that being used? AST.rs. I just call them slots. Interpolated. this is in error, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, I need to add some error tests for that as well. So let's see. We'll have runtime errors. I will make Boolean. I was gonna say I will make Booleans amenable to interpolation as well, but okay, for the moment, I'm just gonna say strings. Okay, so the parser got updated, so this is going to be a little bit of time waiting for it to compile. And there's still an issue with the parser. And that should do it. Is there anything else I need to do? I think just add some documentation actually. That's interesting is that you can't really defer an interpolation. So you can't dynamically build a string and then format it later. I mean, that would mostly just be an issue of implementing the formatting operation. I mean, it could, either just be implemented with a function or a built-in function later. Yeah, that works too. Okay, and that doesn't give an error location, mostly because I haven't added an index to the error. So let's see, is there an easy way of doing that for us? Are there any other errors that I can handle here? I guess just a failed interpolation would be an interesting, well, a fairly essential one to handle actually. Like an empty interpolation. Or a value not defined. Why is that duplicating? I feel like I've been deleting those. D? Okay. So we'll save that, and we have our new location error. Now, realistically, I should also modify the error index to be where the, oh, maybe I could do that actually. Give the locate, like the current slot start. Let's try that. That could be interesting. Index 0. Oh, because I'd probably need to add it with column. So I need to go ahead and unshadow that, or unignore that. let's see, do these actually measure up in practice? So all of the error tests are failing anyway, but let's see what they're resulting in. So we have interpolated slot integer first. We'll take a look at 1, 2, 3, 4. So realistically, we should be looking at 5 here. And we're getting 3. What would be the reason for that discrepancy, I wonder? And for the lists, we've got the same issue. So it's on line 3. Am I also getting messed up by the fact that the dollar symbol is getting dropped in the original string? I'm not sure. I don't feel like doing a ton of debugging, so I'm actually going to put a very cheeky magic constant there, I think. So in this case, it's saying name is not defined, but it's at 1-1. So the error message is correct, but it's giving the wrong location, presumably because it's coming from the lower level. Hopefully that works. Interesting, we get kind of a nested location. I wonder, is it possible to unwrap that? But for the moment, I think that that is fine. And then the last part is couldn't parse interpolation slot. And that's a bit of a headache to put into that, so I'll just leave it with a regular evaluation error. So that's more or less it for all the new errors except for the new parsing ones, I think. Oh no, I added them there, or the new failure errors. I need to update the tests as well to account for that. Where is that? Lex errors. That error. I don't see what the... Oh, because I have int. So let's try that. Hopefully that's all the tests passing at this point. I think it is. Nice. And that is finally string interpolation added to the language. could be done when rendering nested errors or nested error positions is to basically keep track of a flag in the parameters that says whether a position already got output and to not re-output one. But I think this is fine. Oops. Didn't need to add that part at least. And I usually use git add patch just to give myself one last look through the source to see if there's anything obvious that I missed. Support for string interpolation. 300 lines added. Alright, so that is interpolated strings done. So we also have the option for Unicode and error handling, which I don't think I'll add. Unicode, I can't remember the issue that was going to be with that one. Was it that the strings themselves store U8s, so it might not actually be possible to store strings in that? So if I take a look at the AST or maybe value, yeah, the string type is U8. So it might not actually be possible, at least naively, to implement UTF-8 with that kind of a structure. So I'll add that as a note to the scratch. So that's basically put on ice. For error handling, there are lots of different approaches, so I'm not, like, it could be a nice one to add as an example of how error handling could be added to the language. But for the most part, I think the last piece of the puzzle, which could just blow this project up completely in terms of opening a can of worms type scenario, but fixing operator assignment with non-variables. And so that, I think, will be the last feature for this current language project. And at that point, I will be happy to move on to Ash, which is maybe the much more interesting project because it has the more novel features and ideas. So let me just double check with these. So there's some small tasks around just adding consistencies in general, but for the most part this should be done with the fix to the operator assignment operation. So that neatly brings us up to the end of today's stream. Bit shorter than usual, but I'm happy to have finally closed the lid on string interpolation and get one step closer to finishing this project. So it looks like there's just one feature left, and then we'll be finished with this piece of it. So yeah, thanks very much to anyone who's checking this out, and I'll talk to you again.